Mr. Shearer, you're connected. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. This is People of the State of Michigan versus Michael Shearer, docket number 20-591FH. This is the time set for sentencing. Mr. Shearer, can you just confirm for me that you did agree to doing the sentencing remotely instead of you coming into the courthouse?
Yes, ma'am, I did, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Shearer, you were convicted of one count of aggravated possession of child sexually abusive material. That is a felony punishable by up to 10 years in prison. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. You are represented by Mr. Milks. Mr. Milks, have you had a chance to review the pre-sentence report with your client?
Yes, Your Honor. We had a chance to review that. I myself also waived my appearance, and we had a chance to review that. There are a few changes to be made, Your Honor.
Okay, and I got actually a nice little written list from you that I think the prosecutor just got too, and I'll just go through those. Your first one is under evaluation and plan. You're saying that this is his second felony conviction, not his third, because the previous OWI causing death was one count, not two. I just verified that with the information that I have available to me. Does the prosecutor have any objection?
Your Honor, I looked because our CCH does have two, which I informed Mr. Milks, and he pulled a docket, I think, that showed one. So I would like to hear what you came up with, Judge, because I mean, our CCH can be wrong because it says two counts, both found guilty. So that seems inaccurate if it was a plea.
Well, my access is to the judicial warehouse, which is reporting from all over the state. And it showed that he had two counts that he was charged with, one being the OWI death and the other leaving the scene, and that he pled no contest to the OWI death, and the leaving the scene was nollie-prossed.
And that's the information Mr. Milks found. And since he didn't catch that, and I have no objection, in the end, it doesn't affect the guidelines because we can't score it. So based on what he sent me and based on what you found, Judge, I have no objection to that. Sometimes things get reported wrong on the criminal history.
Yeah, and you know, it's really hard to tell sometimes, but I pretty much trust the judicial warehouse for the accuracy of its information. And everything else was consistent as well. Like the costs that were imposed, it was all consistent with one count. So I felt pretty confident that it was right. So I changed that then under evaluation and plan to his second felony conviction. And then going back to the face sheet, prior record under felonies, I put one instead of two. And then evaluation and plan, the third paragraph, third line, the very last word, although he has two prior convictions, I changed that to although he has one prior conviction. And then your next one was the last two lines on page one, says separated from his wife in 1992, and your request was, your change was the same as what's in the report, 1992.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. It should be 1990, I believe, or
1990?
Yes, Your
Okay.
Honor. Shearer, is that correct that you were separated in early 1990s? Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I changed it to 1990. And then the next one was under evaluation and plan on the next page. Third full paragraph, beginning with the fifth line. It is worth mentioning for the sake of treatment purposes that the defendant's sons claim the defendant sexually abused one of them as well as their sister and that he is a sick man. You requested, Mr. Milks, that that be deleted because it's not a conviction. Did you want to add anything to that?
Thank you very much, Your Honor. My client says that did not happen, and he's adamant about that, and is requesting that be changed. that there were, and according to the PSI, there was an investigation, but nothing came of that. So he is just contesting that, to even be placed into the PSI at this time, Your Honor.
Well, that is reflected, that it was investigated and that no charges were issued. But I'm unwilling to delete it because it is a statement from Mr. Shearer's son. And it's characterized here as a claim. And it is also, as I said, indicated that it was never charged. So I would decline to delete that. And then your next one is number 1 of 2 under the criminal history. And I have already changed that so that final charge shows just 1 count of OWI causing death. Under marriage, there is a paragraph where again, it makes the same allegation from the son. And I would decline to delete that as well. Again, it makes it very clear that these are allegations. They're made by the son and that no charges ever came out of it. And then under education, your correction is that he earned his GED in 2001. I'll change that. And then under health, you wanted me to add COPD. I did add that. And then for treatment, I assume that's the letter that I got from the doctor that he uses a suction machine. And so if it's acceptable to you, I put under treatment, I put suction machine.
Yes, Your Honor, that's satisfactory. I did mention the MMSE, which of course I can't remember the exact acronym right now, but it's for potential early onset dementia. It's a preliminary early exam. I just put that in there for reference, Your Honor, regarding that, as well as the letter.
That was your next correction. I hadn't gotten there yet, but I put that under mental health. Maybe it doesn't belong there, I'm not sure. But I put cognitive and memory issues, if that's acceptable.
Perfectly acceptable, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, so that takes all the ones that you did in writing. Did you have any others, Mr. Milks?
No, Your Honor, there are no other corrections, deletions, or additions to be made to the body of the report.
Okay, thanks for doing that in writing. It made it easier to deal with over Zoom. And any objection to the scoring of the guidelines?
I believe, Your Honor, there's going to be a stipulation, which overall won't really change anything, but I believe the stipulation is going to be that OV12 should be scored at 25, while OV13 should be scored at 0.
Okay, so we're just swapping those 2 out. Is that correct, Ms. Allen?
It is, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, and there were no other objections, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay, did the people have any corrections to the report or other objections to scoring?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, did the people wish to be heard?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Milks?
Thank you very much, Your Honor. As this court is clearly aware, my client's deteriorating health is a rather big concern that I have, even regarding his sentencing here. Both his physical regarding his tracheotomy and his difficulty breathing, as well as routine checkups that he's required to have, as well as his current and ongoing mental health, Your Honor. The court already alluded to the note, or I'm sorry, the letter that his doctor had sent regarding his need for ongoing care, as well as this, I'm going to call it a fear right now of possible onset dementia. It's far too early for anyone to say anything, but it's a very, very big concern we have. Now, I don't want to say that my client doesn't understand that he did wrong here. He knows he did wrong. He's not trying to deny that. He admitted to the detective that he did do something wrong, and he knows that as well. Throughout my relationship with him, Your Honor, he's understood that what he has done wrong. He's never denied that whatsoever, and we were able to move forward and try to work with the prosecutor's office wherever we could, also with our agencies, Your Honor. However, I am still asking for a downward departure, understanding the facts and circumstances here, Your Honor. I know it's not easy in something like this, but I am asking for a downward departure, and that is largely due to his health. I'm asking that there not be incarceration right now, or at least a suspended jail sentence, which I know seems quite a bit. My reason for this, though, is that he does require ongoing and regular care. And I think it is fair and equitable under these situations not to put more stress on our institutions at this time, jail or prison alike, when he is receiving the current ongoing care. He requires care. He has to stay at Meadow Lodge where he needs the supervision. And it's not a life of freedom. It's not something where he's getting off scot-free by any means whatsoever. Still being monitored, not having any access to internet, requiring the help and aid of other people, Your Honor, is largely the same thing that he would be receiving in prison. And I think with ongoing monitoring from private probation or anything along those lines, that as long as he is at Meadow Lodge, and assuming that he is quite some time, I would ask that the sentence be suspended at this point, Your Honor. As well as possibly some concerns, and this is what his doctor was talking about in the letter, some concerns that they do have regarding the necessary equipment and any sort of, and I wasn't certain myself, but any sort of removing equipment or not having access to equipment at a prison or a jail, Your Honor, due to some sort of security concerns that the prison may have. Obviously, they've got to balance everything. But Your Honor, in light of all of that, that's why we were asking for this downward departure here. And so if there's anything further, though, I'd like to leave it to my client. And thank you very much, Your Honor.
Thank you. And now you, Mr. Shearer, is there anything you'd like to say?
Yes, ma'am. I do, Your Honor. I deeply regret not reporting every video, photo, and story that was sent to my phone. Regret and immense remorse I feel in no way stem from the situation I am now in. My regret and remorse are for those children in those videos and photos sent to my phone who have had their innocence stolen from them. The trauma and damage abused children go through from molestation is horrendous. I speak from experience, Your Honor. I was one of those children. My molestation began when I was 4 or 5 and continued till I was 10. My molester was my 17-year-old cousin when it all began. I pray nightly for those children in those videos and photos, hoping in some way, somehow, those children will be able to survive the trauma their abusers have put them through. I have prayed and asked for God's forgiveness. Forgiving myself may take a little longer. I don't know if my health will ever allow it, but if possible, I would someday like to try to become involved with Converted Justice or another such group to help prevent other children from being molested by their abusers. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Shearer, I am truly and sincerely sorry for what you experienced as a child. It was wrong. It shouldn't have happened to you. And unfortunately, there's far too many children who have grown up into adulthood that are dealing with exactly the same kind of trauma. Of course, they don't turn to victimizing children in return. This is a heinous and disgusting crime. As I say to people all the time, every single time someone is willing to look at this kind of material, you are victimizing and re-victimizing the children in the videos. And these are real children. It's so easy to forget that these are real children. They're not actors, they're not dolls, they're not likenesses of children. They are real children being victimized in the most horrible, unspeakable way imaginable. And the element of sadism here is also extremely concerning. I am, in addition to being sorry for your experiences as a child, I'm sorry about your current situation with your physical health. And your attorneys requested that I just basically suspend the sentence. I would be able, if I took into account your physical health, which I do, because I don't wish anyone to suffer physically, ever. No matter what their crime, no matter what they did, I do not wish that on anyone, and that's not the purpose of sentencing. But if I were to suspend your sentence, basically what I would be doing is saying that for this heinous crime of aggravated possession of child sexually abusive material involving prepubescent children, in the most disgusting and traumatic way imaginable, that you get no sentence whatsoever, because jail wouldn't be able to address your physical condition any more than prison, and probation would be just as problematic. So I would basically be giving you no sentence whatsoever on this crime that is so serious and has guidelines that are suggestive of a prison sentence. So while I have compassion for you, Mr. Shearer, and I do, I cannot adequately fulfill my role as a sentencing judge by letting you just have no sentence whatsoever. The Department of Corrections does receive people with physical health conditions, and that is not an uncommon thing, and while it's regretful, they are capable of dealing with it. Therefore, it is the sentence of this court that you must pay $130 to the Crime Victims Fund, $68 in state costs. I'm waiving costs to the county. You must register and comply with the conditions of the Michigan Sex Offender Registration Act, and you are committed to the custody of the Michigan Department of Corrections for a period not less than 35 months nor more than 120 months. You get credit for 1 day already served. You may report to the Ingham County Jail to begin your sentence. They will then have you transferred over to the Department of Corrections, but you may report to the jail on or before May 14th. That's Friday, May 14th at 5 o'clock. That's far more time than I allow most people, but I think you've got some unique things to prepare for here. So you, Mr. Shearer, you have the right to file an application for leave to appeal your conviction and your sentence in this matter. You're entitled to an attorney at public expense to assist you in doing that. If you're making a request for one, you have to make it within 42 days of today's date. We will mail you an appellate rights form that tells more about that. You should just be aware that that 42-day time period starts running from today's date. Do you have any questions before we end this hearing?
Could you repeat my sentence, please, Your Honor?
Yes,
Repeat
it's $130 to the Crime Victims Fund, $68 in state costs. You have to register under the Michigan Sex Offender Registration Act, Michigan Department of Corrections, no less than 35 months nor more than 120 months, and you get credit for 1 day served. And you must be sure to report to the jail by May 14th at 5 o'clock. Okay, that'll